Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Midnight Reviews. I picked the wrong name. I'm not a podcaster. It still works, but I'm not Travis Snell. And I'm joined by.
There you go. I am the leapfrog Dylan Muss.
The ketchup and mustard, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I still haven't found my wallet. My wallet is still lost somewhere out in the ether, but you know what makes it good is we got a She-Hulk episode to talk about tonight, the penultimate episode of She-Hulk. Taylor Field, where can they find this? And we got Rings of Power, we got Andor right now, we got House of Dragon, we got retrospectives happening on SideQuest, we got newscasts, just a bunch. Werewolf by Night is happening this week. We're reviewing and just talking about a bunch of stuff. Where can they find it?
Ladies and gentlemen, with your internet connection, you can find that and much more in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse on our Facebook.
Yes, everything you need to know is down below. Where to find us, video, audio, as Taylor was just talking about. Our Discord, you can go in there and talk to us and talk to listeners. That's always a fun time. And Patreon, you can head over there and find everything ad-free. You get exclusive episodes, early episodes. We're recording a nice, juicy Lord of the Rings one this week. And retrospectives, you get to vote on them, like the Patreon producer tier. The big gust of air just went in there. Big thank you to Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Smalley Biggs, and Joshua Wright, because you guys right now are picking the content. You picked our Halloween movie, you're picking our video game movie coming up. You guys at that top tier, you get to move us along, and we thank you very much for that. Manscaped, you can check that out, 20% off for free shipping when you use the podcast code GVPOD. And then right now, you go down the link below. The most important thing there is November 5th, 9 a.m. We are doing our Extra Life 24-hour charity stream. Everything you need to know there. 7 events. There will be more announced. Trivia battle, gauntlet send-off, title matches, Lord of the Rings Monopoly. Just a bunch of very fun things happening, and just chilling with us for 24 hours straight. And it's always a good, weird, fun time. So, as usual, we'll start with non-spoilers, and we'll transition our way into spoilers. So if you haven't seen this episode, you get a chance. But Dylan Muss, I have to start with you. What did you think of episode 8 of She-Hulk?
Is the thing a spoiler? The obvious thing?
I don't think
thumbnail,
it is. It's our
not.
thumbnail. And also, I'm going to say that they released a clip today, and
They
at one point,
announced it
Marvel
today,
Studios just put a picture of Daredevil, and then the next picture was of, it said tonight. So, like, I think they were very clear on what's happening. So maybe if you don't have social media, you don't know.
At this point, too, is also a 50-50, right? If there's 2
Yes.
episodes left, we know he's going to be in there somewhere. So, you know what? Here's the thing. My face hurts because I was just smiling for a half an hour straight. I love this episode. It lived up to all this hype, this build-up that we've been talking about. When's he going to be in there? And it was just fantastic. It was the things we were hoping for, dreaming for. It was all there. Every scene is gold. We got all sides of it. I'll say without, spoiling specific scenes or anything. But, this is definitely worth the wait. I'm very glad we finally got the Daredevil episode, and I couldn't be happier to just, it seemed like he was kind of a cameo in No Way Home. It's nice to have just like some really juicy Daredevil Matt Murdock content in the MCU now. And even just this got me just way more excited for Daredevil Born Again, which I'm already very excited for that, but this was a great episode, and wow, what a great way to send us like right into our finale next week. I'm very excited.
Taylor Field. Now, this is obviously, we're talking about, this is, you see him a little bit here, a little bit there, but this, I feel like, is your biggest experience with this character. Also, you can speak about that, but then also just what do you think about this episode overall?
Yeah, my first official introduction to this was Spider-Man No Way Home, and getting to experience more of this character in this episode was just fantastic. I can't wait to kind of deep dive with it, because it really just kind of jazzes me up to do that retrospective with Kirklin. God rest his soul, he's not here with us tonight.
Be careful. Last time he missed a podcast, he was attacked. So maybe Pan Soul's going podcaster by podcast. He's going to show up in Vancouver soon and just bust through Dylan's window. And just...
I locked my doors. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's going to be some very cool things that are going to come out of adding, Daredevil into the MCU now, because this episode just really just bumped me up. I was super excited just to see what was going on, just between like dialogue, character progression, and maybe the odd fight. But yeah, it's just it was just fantastic. And I think overall with this episode, I wasn't sure what we were gonna really get because I didn't see the like Marvel just dropping like plain signals like, yeah, Daredevil, this episode tonight, like, so I was devoid of that. But I did suspect that we're gonna get other characters and other things in here. But I like
Did
it.
I ruin it for you when I said, hey, the thumbnail
No.
has to be Daredevil?
No, because I felt like it was gonna be this episode or the next one, so it was bound to happen. But I do think that just the way they redid this episode was very clever, and I like that we actually got a lot kind of condensed into it. And now well, every episode up to this point, I don't want to say feels like filler because they've all been very unique and just their own allotted like 20-30 minute time frame of just kind of giving us some backstory, giving us some development, and giving us these characters and their introductions. I feel like this was really nice to get a little bit of that and then some, and then have very impactful story narratives that were unfolding that have been trickled in throughout the previous episodes, and now it's coming to that very cool climactic kind of finale now with next week. But this week's episode was great. There was a lot going on, so thumbs up.
I still didn't even change my fucking name on the thing. I'm a bad podcaster. But anyway, so yeah, I echo more what Dylan says, because obviously me and Dylan were in the trenches for like, not that Taylor didn't say anything wrong there, but me and Dylan, we went through many weekends of watching these happen. And it was satisfying to get with No Way Home because it was like, okay, it's here, it's happening. It's confirmed now what we get in the future. And now we're at that point where we're at the future. We're we're at the future where it's happening and we're seeing this go out. And for me, this was pretty pitch perfect. I have like a few minor cons, and they're not about the character or anything itself with this episode. But this is, I don't know if I can say like, oh, it's the best episode of Disney Plus or anything like that. Sorry, my throat is just killing me right now, so that's fun.
Got a frog in your throat, huh?
No, it's worse. It's like you feel like when it's dry, it's like you're like, uh-oh, it's coming. But anyway, so I don't know if it is the best episode of Disney Plus, but I think it's my favorite. I was smiling the whole time. I stood up a couple times, was like giving fist bumps in the air because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I felt like this was a great introduction to the character, but I also felt like there was great fan service for the people that have been with specifically Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I'll talk in spoilers. I feel like, yeah, there's some minor changes, but to me, it didn't feel like anything where it's like, oh man, such a big shift. Like some people would even talk about how like you look at Thor to Thor Ragnarok. Obviously, that's a huge change, everything like that, right? I feel like to me, anything that happened was minor character development that could have happened from his show or over time. Anything that felt different still felt like things we've seen in the past. And if you want completely the super dark, gritty, everything's Dow or Netflix Daredevil, that's not going to be this. But I think that what they're showing is their version is going to work just as well. And there's lots of other things I'll talk about spoilers too that are interesting of what version they're doing, but no. And I thought the episode alone too, like setting up the finale, did a really good job. I'm very curious about how they ended this episode. So honestly, just top to bottom, pretty much, it just like had major thumbs up. This just made me very, very happy. And I was happy that, we got that show canceled. It's been years it's going to happen. Then last December it happened. And finally we're at this point and I just can give it 2 thumbs up. I'm not getting Ralph Bonered, nothing happening, and obviously there's tons of stuff, but this makes me confident. If this is the balance of the show, like I said, maybe some people will be disappointed, but if this is what he is, I'm perfectly fine with that. And also, this is a Daredevil that has been like in the comics many times, even the anime shows we've talked about. But I loved it. I thought this was great, like episode for Jen too. I think there's some really fun stuff they did with her character. So yeah, I absolutely was floored by this in a positive way. So anything else to say before we get into the nitty gritty of this episode? I was looking for a descriptive word. I don't have it, but well, ladies and gentlemen, if you just wanted the tease, there it is. We're gonna get into spoilers, and then we'll be right back talking about episode 8. And we're back. Thank you, or hello to everyone in the chat, whether it's, morning for some people, late for some people and stuff like that. The ending got very dark. We're going to talk about best episode so far. They did Daredevil right, says Red Mike. Christopher Evans says evening, morning, gents. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, this man stayed up to 2 a.m. He told me on Twitter, which is even later, but it was warranted. So I want to start there. Daryl, what do you want to just talk about with Daredevil? Now, I know this is it is still She-Hulk's show and stuff like that. But it's like this is like the main entree, because also the good thing is what like it was Daredevil tied with Jennifer, and I think that was the best thing too. It wasn't just like, oh, here's Jennifer doing her thing, here's Matt doing her thing. For the most part, all his screen time was about, I'd say 85% the same time as her, which I thought was very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, you're kind of commenting on like the differences or the progression, we could say, from like this version of Daredevil. And yeah, like it's a different style so far, but it seems consistent in a way. But to me, I don't know, it totally worked, which I guess is what I'm happy about, because we talked about too, like, okay, what if he is in this show and maybe he's just like in it for a quick cameo even, or like just a quick one-off fight scene or something like that. But no, we got the Matt Murdock side, we got the Daredevil side, and I like that we got Jennifer like discovering that Matt Murdock is Daredevil like right away too, and then we can just play with that duo for the rest of the episode, or not right away. I mean, there's a couple scenes, but yeah, I'm if you're looking for like more of that darker Daredevil stuff, you got several seasons to go back.
Over 40 episodes. Yeah,
you can enjoy that. But, we're going to get into some of that in the TV show. I don't think it'll ever go, quite to that level. But, it's going to go there when it's like just him and just his story. Obviously, the other characters in there too. But yeah, as you mentioned too, there's a lot of like homage stuff. Like we got a hallway scene, and it wasn't like a hallway scene like the Netflix shows by any means, but it was still, to me, it was fun just him being in that hallway. It was like, okay, I know what they're doing here, and they do the joke that she just crushes and kind of ruins the scene in a way, but it's great. Like I don't know, that just, once again, my smile was already as far as it could be on my face, but it almost like fell right off in that particular moment.
And also, too, this is the chat's talking about this, is when they go, who are you? And he goes, don't you know who I am? They play the next Netflix Daredevil theme song, which again, that I don't think they're ever going to fully address what the canon is, but I feel like they're doing enough to say, hey, you could watch that show and this is still that Daredevil, but that show, you don't necessarily need it for what we're going to do with him, right? That kind of feels like a level up, where maybe those 3 seasons were, hey, this is his origin and now he's Daredevil, the hero now. And hearing that theme was crazy. And yeah, the hallway, I'm sure, Taylor, you've seen this, but every season Daredevil would have a classic hallway fight. Now, when you watch the Netflix show, those are much more grandiose. They're sometimes like 10 minutes. They're very well shot, action oriented. To me, this felt like a nice little teaser. And like you said, with She-Hulk crashing through, to me, it was almost like, you got to wait for his show to get like a full one. Like that's what it felt like. I like the whole, like, they're moving slow. He's starting to sense the weapons, like guys, like, and all that stuff. And then when that happened, I wasn't mad by it, because yeah, it was not nearly shot as well as the other stuff, but I didn't think we were going to get that here, because that's where it's like that. It's not his show. We shouldn't be getting maybe a 10-minute hallway scene, because that'd be fun. But if we're going to get 18 episodes of Daredevil, I think we're going to have time for some hallways. And I just love that they, again, between the theme, the hallway, they knew, even if they never talk about the canon of that show, they are alluding to the fans of the show right away. Like the second he landed in that hallway, I was like, oh my goodness, they're really gonna do it. And it was just tons of fun. Like if it was fan service to like a thing they own, but it fit the story too. But Taylor, what were some of your impressions of what were some of your highlights of Daredevil this episode?
I mean, yeah, I've heard through you guys like classic hallway scene, that sort of stuff. So okay, this makes sense. We're getting the hallway scene here. I really like that. I didn't catch the Netflix theme because I haven't watched the Netflix show, but everything that I was seeing, I was really, really enjoying. I liked how charismatic his character was. I liked how they filmed, again, the sequences with him and just his fight scene, everything like that, whipping out his like what do you call it, like his baton, like into nunchuck mode, where it like extended out on that like cable, which is very
those
cool.
Looked a bit better than the Netflix ones, because they could CGI those a bit. So like when that end the hallway, when he like did the quick one, I was like, oh, they couldn't do that in Netflix. Like in Netflix, it looked very, or like he couldn't be jumping off no buildings in Netflix. And of course people are like, oh look, they CGI Charlie Cox so much. It's like, well yeah, what do you expect him to do? Jump off a fucking building and like.
I was gonna say, like, I don't mind at all, yeah, the CGI movements and stuff like that. He's fighting CGI She-Hulk, for Christ's sake. But
yeah,
the one thing that threw me off was when she picked him up and like unmasked him, and it's like, ooh, that CGI really stood out there. But
whenever she picks people up, like last episode when she choked that guy, they haven't nailed down her office, and they haven't nailed down when she grabs people by the head. Because yeah, the proportion looked wrong. It was like his body was CG, but then his face was there, and then she's CG. chemistry, I agree with you. That was like, oh, there couldn't have been like another. What they should have done is just when she did the Hulk Sonic clap or whatever, the boom clap, the helmet just should have came off. Like that could have been the same way instead of like doing this lift. But it was fine. But I caught that too. Like, oh, that didn't look the greatest.
Yeah. But I think that their chemistry was fantastic, like him and She-Hulk immediately. But I like the fight sequence. I liked how he was just coming into this free fall up off of like Frogger's car or whatever, and yeah, it was just how they introduced him to in the court scene as well was awesome. I love that because I love that it was just he needs a lawyer. What's the
I forget the guy's name, but yeah,
it's Louis something.
Guy.
It's Louis B or Louis B or something
like that. Yeah. So again, I like that because I thought, oh, how is he going to defend himself? And yeah, blank, defendant there, like needs someone to defend himself. And yeah, he walks. And I thought, this is fantastic. I love this. This is a great tie-in. So.
And I shot that down. I know I can't remember who brought it up in our chat one episode. It was like, oh, you think we'll see them do any lawyer stuff together? I was like, I thought you could see them as Matt and Jen, but I didn't think they'd be doing lawyer stuff together. And obviously it was the reverse where it's like against each other, but still, I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought they were just going to meet each other maybe in a bar and like, oh yeah, you're a lawyer, you got the duns, all that thing. But that's what I was going to say about the movement. So of like, why? Of course, yeah, it's CG. And maybe some stuff in the future they'll like try and get more practical. But for me, what I love is if you like anytime we play Marvel Ultimate Alliance, of course, Matt Murdock / Daredevil is like a normal guy, but he always had such a fluidity to him. He always moved very well and quick and stuff. And that's something that's never been done in the Ben Affleck movie or the show. And the show always, like me and Dylan talked about so much that you could tell like they had the budget that they had and they could work with it. Now, these shows still have a budget, but this was like, I've never seen Daredevil in live action move like this. Like he was moving like the way he moved in the Spider-Man animated show. Like he's so quick and nimble and stuff like that. And he does it in a way where when he's jumping off the building, you kind of believe it because he's swinging and then he's keeping momentum up. So there was that one point where She-Hulk like broke the roof, which again he made this joke, but tons of property damage in this episode. She was just going left, right, and center. But when the roof is starting to cave in and he's starting to fall, but he just grabs the two poles and like swings himself up, I was like, oh, that just felt like between that and that's why because they released that clip today and him being like, I'm gonna kick your ass and consider myself ass kicked or whatever. And he was even like this in the Netflix show at times, but Matt Murdock is very cheeky at times. He has a very dry sense of humor, and he is like a ladies man, which to transition we got to see in this. That scene when after they fight all the bad guys and what was his name again? The leap pad, right? The leap pad was the base. The lily pad was the lily pad. There we go. Thank you. And all the mission's done, stuff which we'll talk about, but they're on that sign and everything. And just how charming Charlie Cox is and just the flirting and the back and forth going on. It's like that completely to me is, and I agree with Chris Evans, this is the more heroic version of Matt. And that's what in comics there's two versions where there's times where it's like Born Again where Matt's down and out, depressed, so much stuff's going on, and then there's times where he's smiling. There's times where he is like a friendly character. He is friends with Spider-Man and stuff like that. Like I thought they did that well, but their chemistry, I've always talked about, and we always talk about, like, man, I want more superheroes to be together, get it on. I'm glad that I love the rooftop scene. I'm glad we went the full way because now it's canon. And I know we got Karen, maybe she's come back, but man, I want this more explored. His show, her show, whatever it is, him and Tatiana just knocked it out of the park. It felt like they had done this many times. Like this is probably the first few times they're meeting each other as actors, and their chemistry was just like that. So I'm shipping that all the way. So
well, especially because there's been so many just terrible men in the series for her, and it's nice to know that okay, this guy is good. He is not going to screw her over because some of them have kind of been playing on the edge of like, is this guy actually good? Is he not? But it's nice to just be like, okay, this is good for her. This is going to be a good moment. She's going to be happy with this. And obviously the episode ends in a pretty dire way once again, but I'm glad they did what they did there. And, I liked that because I was thinking that when we first got the reveal of him that she would do a fourth wall thing of like, here he is, here's Daredevil. So I liked that she came in from the perspective of not really knowing anything, and they kept that mystery with him, and she was learning about him that way, which I think is good for people who aren't familiar with the Netflix series. They can kind of go in fresh, so I like that they kind of did the introduction that way. But man, I was so happy to get that love scene between them. That rooftop scene, oh my god, that chemistry is so good. I agree with you. I want to see more of that, and I'm curious what will happen, right? Because they kind of said that he's like, oh, I'll buy you dinner next time I'm in town. Then they kind of skipped that step, so they could just say that that was like a good way to write it off, but I really hope we see more of it. And I think we could, just based on like how this season might end here, like her lawyer career might be over depending on what goes on here. She might go full on superhero, even though he kind of was convincing her that it's good if she can kind of do both worlds at the same time. But I'm just trying to think about how it would make sense for her to be in Daredevil's show and be in a different city and doing this other thing. But maybe that's thinking too far ahead for the moment.
At one point, I thought he was going to pitch her to come to New York, because when he's talking about like pro bono and New York, and I thought he was going to be like, oh, if you ever need a job or something like that. And I don't think they go that far. I'm not saying, oh, I need She-Hulk co-starring in Daredevil. No, not that. I would just kind of like almost the reverse equivalent. How, like you said, I don't know after the finale what situation she's going to be in, so it might not be set up. But even if it's down the line or in the future, whether we get a She-Hulk season 2 and he can be in that, or vice versa, she could be in his show, at least for just one episode, I would like that dynamic, even if it is just like I'm not expecting them to get together and get married, but even if they keep it as this lawyers, superheroes with benefits sort of thing going on, because they got, it'd be different if it's like, okay, they did the love scene and this is just kind of fun, but when they got that good chemistry, you're like, oh man, they're like, this is better chemistry than many of the main love interests has had. Like, it took Thor: Love and Thunder for Hemsworth and Natalie Portman to me to have like decent chemistry. Like, we've seen this before where it's just not clicking, and I think that's just a credit to both of them, because I think She-Hulk has some good writing, but I don't think this was like, oh, a huge rom-com written and anything like that. But I think that those two together just are very, like, they're separately very good, so they bounce each other off very good. And like I said before, in the comics, Matt's at times been like a womanizer, but he's very flirty. He's very like he knows his ways, and just like I love when he was again playing blind, when he reaches for the drink and she has to like give him the drink. Like, I love he was doing all that stuff again of, he is blind, but it's a different variation of it. But Taylor, what do you think of their chemistry, and then what do you think about the future of this, if we see more, if it's just a one-off, etc.?
Yeah, I thought their chemistry was just, true and true. It blew it out of the water right off the hop, and I really, really like that. So, it's all green lights moving forward for me in that front. I'd love to see more. Yeah, I love to see more interaction between these two characters and just more connection. I'd hate for it to just end on like a one night stand, because I think there's got to be so much more to explore here, because they've got that great chemistry. But yeah, it was just, it really caught me off guard. I liked how it felt kind of like I don't want to say like high school cheesiness, but I mean, in the end, that's what it kind of felt like, just high school cheesiness, I guess, just with these grown adults sitting on top of the rooftop. Like, had that fun superhero aesthetic to it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot, and yeah, I think that them, canonizing them, just like going to town, definitely I'm on board with that. I think it was I think it was fun, and I like too that it wasn't with her She-Hulk form. I liked again that it was with Jen, and I like that reaffirmment too, that hey, she can be Jen, that people will really like and care about her being her human form. She doesn't always have to be She-Hulk to impress everyone and kind of lure everyone in, I guess you could say. So I think it's good for her character and her progression.
I liked when they were trying to get to the room and she's just trying to take the suit off. She's like, I just don't know how this thing works. Like, she's reaching for different zippers and stuff like that. And it was just like, because we like, Charlie Cox has had some sex scenes before in Netflix Daredevil, but I feel like we hadn't seen anything on with the suit. And to me, that's just like, that's great, because it's just like a weird dichotomy of, you're not seeing the suit in this type of situation. You're even just seeing Daredevil's suit in like her apartment is like, this is super weird. I will agree with Superbad Mike that for a little nitpick, same thing, and something that did not work for me was the walk of shame. Now I chalk that up to, okay, it's a comedy, it's kind of a skewed perspective, but just like 10 minutes ago when we were getting the whole like, oh well, secret identities are really important and I got to keep mine, and then here he is just walking around as Daredevil.
No one's gonna know who he is.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, but what happens for some reason if the police are looking for him? He's there. Like, I thought that was maybe a bit too far for me. I agree as well. It's like a joke that didn't really work. I think it was like, okay, I get what they're going for, but it kind of
I don't know. Even if the police were looking for him, I don't think they tracked down his identity.
I think he was a bit high in like a honeymoon state, kind of thing, or I don't think he was thinking straight.
Well, and that's a good thing, I hope, too, that even if we don't get She-Hulk season 2 or her and his show, the good thing about the MCU is there's going to be crossovers. So I imagine these characters are going to interact at one point. It's kind of like how like this is to a bigger extent, but like Thor and Guardians interact in Infinity War, and that became like not a bigger thing later, but they still carried it through. Same thing with like even specifically Rocket and Thor. We've had that with like Bruce and Tony when they were interacting in Avengers, and then he was in Iron Man 3. So whether it's their separate projects or crossovers, I don't think it's like, oh, they'll never interact again. It's just like it's kind of like when we got that Yelena Kate Bishop interaction. It's like, oh, I could just take a show of these two. If there was just an Eternities That Law show and it was Daredevil and She-Hulk together, I was like, oh, done. I would take that after these. Like, it's that type of chemistry where like, okay, I really want to see what you could do with even more of this. And I hope so. That's the good thing about Disney Plus. I don't think you ever do that in a movie, but Disney Plus, if people like it, it's like, okay, maybe we can see something more in the future. So,
man, when the episode was going on, I'm like, I just wish this was a movie right now. Like, let's make this an hour and a half, and like, let's just keep going with it.
I literally paused the middle. I'm like, oh, only 12 minutes left. Oh.
Yeah. I got to say too, I really enjoyed like, it was kind of short, but the lawyer element of it, like the case that we had in this episode, it was fun to bring back the suit guy because he was very funny in, what was that, episode 5 at this point? I think that was.
Yeah, it was 5. Yeah, because we got the wedding and then it was last week. So yeah, it was 5. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a very fun character to have him come back, and how all the characters interact and connect with each other. I thought was a really fun dynamic. That he smelled the fuel, and that's what kind of broke the case. I thought was really fun. And yeah, I guess I don't know if we have more Daredevil stuff. I'm sure it'll come up, but transitioning to Leapfrog, as you know, we've heard that, oh, this is the big villain of the season. Where is he? That kind of thing. And obviously, it's a lot different than a regular Marvel project. But I still had a lot of fun with this character. I'm obviously a big Frog fan, but I love that he just had like all the Frogger arcade games. He had the lily pad, which very subtle. I love that comment that she had. And all the suits that he has, and when he was like breakdancing on the ground, like trying to do his tricks, and he's just such a dope. I loved that character. I thought he was a lot of fun for a little 1-episode mini arc, and I like the debate between goons and henchmen, that debate, all that stuff. So I really liked pretty much everything with that character, I got to say.
Yeah, no, me too. It went a route that I wasn't expecting. I was more expecting the first 10 minutes of he does this little crime thing, or he's trying to stop something, and then it goes bad and there's a court case. I expected more little to. Now this was didn't get like massive, but the fact that he had like a lair and hench goons and stuff like that, and the Froggers, I love that for no other reason than just because that's the way Jen Walters is, and I love it when they walk in there. The first thing she does is pick up the Frogger and just like destroys it. Like, she doesn't have to do that, but she's just so sassy when she's She-Hulk, and I loved all that. And I actually liked the actor, so this was tons of fun, especially for me that I feel like there's been a couple of people like Immoral Man and stuff like that of past few episodes that didn't pay off for me. Like, I wasn't loving. I think this one we had a lot of fun, and it all felt like sometimes these Disney Plus shows don't feel natural, but it's like you have this case, okay, it ties back to the suit maker ties back to Daredevil. Now in retrospect, like, yeah, we didn't get that Daredevil reveal right after we got the head tease or the helmet tease, but now when you kind of get it later on, like, okay, I like that as far as we got it very sprinkled like here and there. So I love that. Love the lily pad. I love, like I said, I think his name's Lewis or Louis, just giving him shit about the color scheme he's chosen and stuff like that. And I even liked how he just lied to She-Hulk and she got mad about that, but how, like, oh, I need your help, and it looked like something really important and something was going bad for him, and you just got Daredevil looking like Dark Knight when Batman's trying to get in and stuff like that on the roof. But the big twist, but whatever, the reveal is just that he was actually kidnapping the suit maker. So I liked everything with Frogman, Man Frog, and Leapfrog, and I hope if we get She-Hulk season 2, I'd like him to be a reoccurring character as like really? Just okay. Like a once a season thing though, maybe not like I don't need him as a supporting, but if every season he was to come back and be up to some sort of shenanigans, I'd be down with that. Kind of like Turk and Daredevil, like that sort of way. Like you'd always see him once. So what about you two? I feel like you could cosplay as this guy. He even looked like you a little bit.
I like the costume. I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely a very, very cool costume. I don't know if I could get the rocket feet perfected, but
don't use jet fuel.
Well, he didn't either.
So, yeah. But no, I think out of all the other characters, I agree with what you guys have said, and like you mentioned, Travis too. Like with Mr. Immortal and these other previous, not villains, but people with powers. I haven't been haven't felt the draw to them, or they kind of like latch on like who I'm really kind of enjoying seeing.
Like Man Bull.
Yeah, no, didn't do it for me. No, I will say actually, because I wasn't on that episode. I will say again, was it Porcupine Man? Is that his name? Yeah,
something like that.
I really enjoyed Porcupine Man. He was fantastic. So I guess I'm really a sucker for these. Again, not the Man Bull, but these obscure little critter related hero.
You like when they have
villains.
costumes on, not when they're the actual animals. It seems
Yeah,
like,
I
you
guess
know?
so. Yeah, so
Taylor's like,
but
that could be me. I could put that costume.
that could be me. I could be this frog, leapfrog.
Yeah,
So-
leapfrog. Yeah.
Well, he called himself like guard frog in the like first scene, but then he was like, I forget why he had changed names. I think it was just depending on the
He
situation.
was going through an identity crisis for sure.
Yeah, he was still trying to figure out what name he wanted to go with, right?
Yeah, I love in that meeting. He's like, but it's actually leapfrog. She's like, I know you've said this multiple times. Okay, I just want to be clear.
And his tadpoles, right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I have little notes to shout out, but anything else about leapfrog or the case?
Not so much, I don't think.
I don't think so.
All right, so let's take an ad break, and then we're gonna get the end, and then some little shout outs. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So they keep talking about this gala thing, and obviously she's not gonna get a dress made, yada yada yada. That all gets resolved. She saves the suit maker's life, so they kind of come to Jesus moment. I like when they had the trial though, and she's like, "Oh, you can forgive this and make my suits, right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, of course." And then he just did like the knot, but he walked away. But like specifically, her actual face animation was one of the best I've ever seen. She-Hulk, just like it looked very good. But either way, you jump to the end, and after we get the the walk of shame. I love that she's like, shouldn't this episode be over? It came to a very satisfying conclusion. Like all that fourth wall breaking of, she sounded exactly like I do on some of these Disney Plus reviews when she's like, man, it's the finale already. Like, how could that be? Like, I feel like we're going to rush. I feel like we're going to tack on some twist that doesn't feel earned. Is there a Red Hulk? Is there another Hulk? Like all this stuff they're going back and forth. Even then, like, and it's just so funny the time with the rumors, even though this did have a Wolverine reference already, Nikki jumped out with like Wolverine claws with the makeup. So it's funny the show referenced it twice. And I guess it's not funny because really, if you think about it, the first time Wolverine debuted as a Marvel character was as a Hulk villain. Like they fought. So it's like he does have ties to the Hulk. And I think you might see something like that in the future, especially Hugh Jackman. Why not get Hugh Jackman and fucking Mark Ruffalo doing some
I guess
stuff?
we got that confirmed that he's coming back sooner rather than later. So was he that guy in that news article, right, from that episode?
It said it, man with claws gets in bar fight, right? So metal claws. So, but anyway, so
unless it was Nikki with her like
True.
makeup brushes.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's her side. She's also a superhero on the side.
Yeah.
But there's all this stuff, and like even Red Hulk, obviously that alludes to Thunderbolt, and it's like, okay, well, anyways, we're gonna go to this party, and the party is the one I was confused, but I think I liked as a joke when they're presenting Female Lawyer of the Year, and just like there's like 8 winners and stuff, and there's some good comedic beats there and everything, and then all of a sudden, Anonymous, aka Intelligentsia, pops up on the screen. You get that Hulk King logo, and pretty much we've talked about this before, where sometimes they've done it, I think, very well. There's been a few times been heavy-handed, but what this is doing is it's revealing like She-Hulk's not who you think it is. I like Jen. She's like, oh no, everyone knows who. Like I don't have a secret identity, but it starts revealing all these texts. Pictures of Captain America's butt, her like Tinder accounts, but then like literally releasing like leaking a statement. And to me, this is like very parallel to in the world. There's so many times, like we've gone through this many times with celebrities where they get their phones hacked, and whether it's personal information, nudes and stuff like that, which shouldn't be like, that's always the thing that happens. And this happened a lot in the wrestling community where like women would get vilified, or sometimes, and luckily some companies didn't like punish for, oh, well, your nudes leaked. But it's like, that's private information that was meant for one person. And that's where, whether it's that person leaking it or someone hacking in a phone, people should never be shamed for their personal life. As long as everything's consensual and legal, they shouldn't be shamed for that. And I think that's what this was pretty much doing, where it was showing what would happen. Like they're doing the PG sort of Disney version of it, but still they even showed like there was a tape of her in a recording with Josh. So I thought that was very parallel to life. And I think to me that works. Is like, it's not like a world ending situation, but to me, it worked out to having a lot of impact, and then we got her getting almost into like monstrous Hulk and stuff like that. So I thought it was a really good ending.
Yeah, and like adding on to that, just like the way, she rightfully smashes the screens, gets pretty angry. She busts through a wall to chase that one guy down, and then the cops like have the guns up to her, which makes sense. She's smashing stuff around, but still, like, yeah, she's the bad guy at the end of all that, and I'm sure that boss is gonna let her go after this particular outbreak, and who knows what the fallout of that is. But I thought it was pretty poignant, really fit the character pretty well, and I'm curious where we'll go with that in that final episode. And I feel like they're really showing off Todd a lot in this episode, that like creepy dude who like bought the Wakanda spear and stuff like that. So my guess is
it
that
says
he
Columnist took it, but I don't believe that. That was such a
I got
good
the
line.
receipts.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like, oh boy, we all know that
Just
person.
every line he has is just so cringe. But
Yeah.
like I don't know, they showed so much of him, and the fact that they brought him back at all makes me think that he is like a bigger part of this, like the way he's kind of creeping on her, sneaking up. I don't really know why he brought her to that bar to have that conversation. I guess he was just trying to hit on her or something more to that. I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like he's gonna have a big part of it. Is I guess my guess. And then I don't know, who else do we got? We got like the guy who
We got Josh from last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else that would be like relevant characters that we haven't had a conclusion yet for the show. I think we've kind of hit everyone else.
Yeah,
like
the Wrecking Crew guy,
major
obviously they
players.
like resolved them of his sins, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know about like the rest of the Wrecking Crew, but that guy's kind of done. I don't think there's going to be anything with, like, I think we could see Blonsky, but I don't think it's going to be some reveal like the whole time he was working with someone. Like, I don't think that.
Yeah.
I think we will see him in something, but I am very curious next week with the ending. I think we'll get some sort of fight scene, but I think we could really end this in a way where you don't have to do that. Like I think to me this was a good, like, this was a twist and it made things ramp up, but it made sense with what they're showing the whole season of. We met the website, we got some about the blood, there was the Josh reveal, so there's been little things where for a while I was like, okay, is the finale gonna be rushed? Where are we gonna go? But it's all tied together. Now, like I said, my worry is that they just try to jump to, we need a 15-minute action set piece of She-Hulk versus Intelligence. Yeah, that could happen, but I feel like this show is warranted. Like, we don't need to end with a big brawl, and I kind of hope we don't. And I am feeling, and like I said, I was wrong about this with Hawkeye, so maybe I'll be wrong again, but I am feeling an end credit is potentially getting a She-Hulk 2 announced. Now, maybe they're gonna do this World War II or World War Hulk film and then a She-Hulk 2, but I just feel like this is not ending in a way where it's like, oh, her journey's completely done on her own. But I agree with you also, Dylan, where I feel like she could get fired. So if she gets fired and she's not a lawyer, then I guess she could just go be an Avenger. I don't know. She could be the Avengers lawyer, So
Yeah, which I mean, just based on what we got with Daredevil stuff this episode, like now I don't want her to go to the Avengers side of things. I want her to stay on the street level. I want her to move to New York and all this fun stuff. Yeah, I what you mentioned earlier. I don't know if I would want the Daredevil show to be the two of them, but I mean, after based off this one episode, I think I would be down for that. I don't think they're going that route, but
no.
yeah, I'm really curious what they're going to do. I would love to see a season 2 get confirmed. And I mean, yeah, like they called this She-Hulk Attorney at Law. They could change that tagline to something else if she is not going down that path. Is She-Hulk some other thing, superhero stuff, whatever it is, something better than that, of course. But
Superhero
I don't know.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they could go down that route. But yeah, I'd love to get that confirmation. That'd be great.
Taylor, what do you think about the ending? What do you think? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We got that with Loki, right? Has there been another show that had that? It was the only one,
No.
right?
No,
Maybe like this character will return, but like not a season 2 confirmation.
Yeah, no, nothing. I thought Hawkeye. I think Miss Marvel. It didn't get the end credit. I think we'll get it after Captain Marvel. But yeah, Loki's the only one that got that right away confirmed and then moving forward. So, and if these rumors are true that there is some sort of movie in the works, I think the same thing where they maybe won't confirm it. They'll say, maybe down the line and stuff.
Right.
Because maybe she'll go on one big adventure and then she'll come back to being a lawyer for a show. I could see that too. If she kind of redeems her name. And I liked that this week, if we talk about it, just like it felt like she was starting to actually lose control, or so far she's been in control. So, because at the end, I liked that when she looked at the camera, there wasn't some like snippy like fourth wall joke. It was just kind of like she was realizing she lost control. So I don't know if
I couldn't tell if she was looking
at.
at someone who had just popped into the scene, or if she was a fourth wall thing.
Yeah, I thought it was us, but it could be somebody yet. But.
What was your take, Taylor, on that?
I felt like they were implying that she was looking.
You don't even know. You're
I
undecided.
felt like it was breaking the fourth wall and looking at us, but at the same time, like in retrospect, looking at that, it didn't feel like it was looking at the viewers. It was meant to be us. Like it was meant to be just like this, us realizing that she lost control and she realized that she lost control, and just for everyone in general, the viewers, the people in that moment there with her. I don't blame her whatsoever for freaking out. And it was just like, I was getting like antsy, like, oh, listen to your colleague on the stage. Like, don't do it, Jen, don't do it. And I wish that she listened. But then again, this is what Bruce was wanting to help her with, because there were going to be these kind of situations that she thought she could control and handle. But at the end of the day, I feel like Hulk always can kind of get the better of you if you get angry enough. So that was represented here because she smashed the screen and everything, and people freaked out. I will say the response time on those officers was fucking stellar. They were ready to go out there within probably like 30 seconds. So
they knew something bad was going bad.
They
down,
got tipped or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, hey, people have sex, but when it's recorded and it's like put up there like without consent, that is very unfortunate. But hopefully she does not get fired, and hopefully her boss like understands and can sympathize for her because of this situation. But it's very unfortunate that that was like played because her parents were there, and I was just thinking like, oh, this is just not good. This is just such a very horrible thing to have to endure and experience in this, especially when you won an award that like 6 other ladies also won. So
Yeah. I was gonna say, is Luke Leapfrog? The chat's about. Does Luke know who Daredevil is? Is that that was his name? Because at one point, which I like the scene when they're fighting in the warehouse, he's like, "Oh, you get him for insanity," and he starts to break his arm. And then he's like, "Are you a lawyer?" He's like, "No, I just like legal drama." So I actually liked, again, to me that was like quipping that it felt like Daredevil. It felt good, but Luke is the suit designer. Oh, does he know? I think Luke does know. So okay, so Luke is his name, not Lewis is our chatter here. But I think he knows. I think he knows for most of them for the most part. But yeah, because I feel like him being his client.
They explain that in
the
court, right? Like for their anonymity's sake, they have to protect that, right? So
yeah, true. And we did learn
would
that.
you show up in like I guess another suit to get the measurements and talk with him and stuff, or like I don't know how that would work. I think you'd have to show up as Matt Murdock.
You send him your measurements. It's like, well, Matt Murdock's measurements are like this, and Daredevil. Like, yeah, I think the guy would figure out. But I will say, because I think they talked about this early, like before the show had come out, we never got addressed. We didn't think they were a thing, but we got our official canon reason for the MCU Sokovia Accords have been appealed now, so that's no longer a thing. Obviously, that happened in Civil War, and then the snap happened because remember Ross was like, "Don't be doing hero shit. Like you got to come back to base," and that's when Don Cheadle like turned and stuff, and like I'm not helping you out anymore. So that means now you can be a superhero without having to reveal your identity. That is after 5 years gone.
right.
So.
Captain America can come back now.
Yeah, yeah, on the Avengers with not Tony, I guess Ironheart now, but he's calling Sam every day. Those Accords, they still up? Well, I'm not coming back until he's just like this old man on a chair and stuff like that. But hope we get more of Daredevil and Echo, at least more than one episode. See, even though we do know he's going to be an Echo, even if it's one episode to this amount, I'm happy with that too. Because again, for me, it's always like I know we're getting 18 episodes of him. So if it's one episode of him kind of being a partner or everything like that, true. And I also think in that show he's going to be a lot more serious because that's where Echo is as a character too.
He's not going to be flirting with Echo and then sleep with her in an episode.
He just keeps Hawkeye, Black Widow show, like every female show, they just drop Matt Murdock there and the same thing happens. And then when the crossover happens, they're all like, oh Matt, man, it's like everyone puts together like he's just going around sleeping with all the Avengers. What's good? Like, and like legitimately, Matt Murdock was a womanizer in the comic books. Like he's been with Widow, he's been with Elektra. He has like a long list of ladies he's been with. So not that I think that's what Disney Plus is gonna do, but like that would just be funny. He's just like working. He drops up in Moon Knight season 2 and just sleeps with all the personalities.
All the
in
personalities.
In Mark's body and stuff like that. He's just like it's Bachelor with Matt Murdock. But yeah, the Accords no more. I thought I was gonna say something on the ending there, but yeah, I liked it. I don't know what's gonna happen to the MCU pimp. Absolutely, yeah. Oh, I felt like there's something I was gonna say about the ending there. Go ahead, Dylan.
I was gonna mention too, like you mentioned the line of Red Hulk, but I thought it was interesting that they name dropped that. Do you think there's anything more to that, or is it just like a funny little joke?
Well, I'm not sure. Did you hear about the rumors going on with that character right now?
I don't really know anything about Red Hulk, so I
So-
feel like I'm pretty in the dark on that.
Red Hulk is who Thunderbolt Ross becomes. That like
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so obviously that character passed away. I, like many others, thought, they're just not going to do anything with that character, or you could just jump to Red Hulk. There's rumors right now that they are looking to recast. We don't know if it's happening, but the top choice right now Marvel wanted was Harrison Ford to replace and be Thunderbolt Ross. There is rumors that he passed on it, but either way, they are recasting that character, it sounds like. So I think we are going to be getting Red Hulk in the next... for sure 5 years, I'd say now, with these rumors, and then he gets mentioned in the show. Yeah.
Does he have to be and pardon my French, an old person?
Well, yeah, look at Thunderbolt Ross has been in the MCU before,
I know, but get
remember?
like a young actor and just maybe like up age him a little bit, because Harrison Ford, I feel I sympathize with you. Like
oh
barely
wow,
made
you're
him
trying to
out.
say we're gonna lose another Thunderbolt Ross?
I
is that
feel
what
like
you're saying?
he's an older gentleman and he made it. Thank God he made it out of Indiana Jones alive
and
without
it's 2 Star Wars films.
and 2 Star Wars films. I feel
Even though
like
he
if
broke his leg.
Disney keeps subjecting him to these grinds of films, like the poor guy's not gonna make it.
No,
I think he keeps
gets
crashing
a
his-
hefty paycheck, and
Yeah,
he doesn't have to
that's
do
it,
much
yeah.
these days. He just kind of stands there. I feel like.
Yeah, and he just has to crash a plane. And he's like, I guess I need another check from Disney. No, I don't know why. I feel like you could just do Red Hulk and be like, hey, Thunderbolt Ross turned into this guy. You don't really need an actor to portray that. Because also it's weird if, I said this in my trash totally, but if they get Harrison Ford, that means in the future we're going to have a Red Hulk that has like the semblance of Harrison Ford. That's just not
Yeah.
something in my mind I put together. Like, huge, jacked, red Harrison Ford. I'm like, I don't know
I
if
can't
we
picture
need
the
that.
voice. That just doesn't. That doesn't
Yeah,
work for me. I don't know.
he's but that either way, the rumor is they're recasting, so I think you're gonna see
Yeah.
something.
Well, to go down Taylor's theory, like I mean, look at Steve Rogers in Endgame, right? Like they, made him look. They made him look pretty good, old. Like just
Right?
take Finn Wolfhard, age him up,
Oh,
throw some props.
bold play.
We got
He
a
could
we
be
got
the
a
new
Thunderbolt
Thunderbolt
Ross
Ross.
for the next millennia. We got him cast. He's not going anywhere.
Good to go.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
my God.
that's great. Yeah, I don't think I can remember anything about the end. The ending, so I'll just move on from that. Just looking through my notes here. I like at one point when they're arguing on the roof, and she's just like, "Well, I have superpowers, Matthew." I like that she called him Matthew. It's just like a very already fun, like flirty back and forth and stuff like that. I like them just again going back and forth of stealth versus like brawn. I like it's kind of like a picking your class in some sort of game. Oh, I can do it this way, and just again the sexual tension when he's like, I can hear the heartbeats, I hear yours too, and they just like slow motion. It's her face. You got the green on her, and I loved in the bar. She's like, "Are you all feeling this? Because I know I'm feeling this." Like everything was great, and that's the best stuff. Is and always for me, it's I talk about like Avengers: Age of Ultron, like the dinner scene. Like to me, the MCU is the best when it's the character dynamics that are working. And I didn't need like the hallway stuff was great, action scene was great, but that's not what I cared about. It was these two characters interacting. I think they nailed that at the park. And yeah, I think that's all the notes I have for this episode. Like I said, I think that mention I was going to have the end's going to bug me till next week, but I got a week to think about it. I'll get there. But I'm excited to see what they do with it, how they handle it, and hopefully it has a good finale, because Disney Plus finales can be, I think other than Loki, they've been kind of a mixed bag at times, varying degrees of good. So anything else, gentlemen, before we jet?
Yeah, I feel like this one's set up in a pretty good spot for the finale. I feel like just intelligentsia stuff, like you resolve that, and you're good to go. Like I don't think you need to see Blonsky again. Daredevil's kind of done, obviously. I don't think at this point that we need to see Hulk. I think they can leave that like he flew off, and then we'll find out what happened to him later on. Could be a post-credit scene once again. But yeah, I feel like we're in a good spot. That like I'm hoping we're not going to feel that rushed element of it. As you mentioned, like they kind of alluded to that joke, and I feel like we did kind of get through a good amount of stuff in this episode. But yeah, I feel like with having these kind of mini villains like a Titania or these mini arc characters like a Blonsky, like yeah, we've got those resolved. Frogman, he's resolved for today. For this season, I should say. So I think we're set up for just closing this out in a pretty good way. So I hope that is the case, because if so, man, I think this show is going to be like pretty high in my MCU rankings, because I was kind of bagging on the last two episodes, but they were still good. I just they were not to the level of the previous episodes, and then this one just blowing me away. If it lands that finale, then this is gonna be just one of the great MCU projects. I think.
I agree.
I think it already is, but you know,
I
a
do too,
great
yeah.
finale helps close it out, right?
Cements it, you know, it like puts the exclamation mark on the sentence. Do we see Titanium again, which will be next week? I think a snippet. I think something, not like major
Really?
plot, but
Okay.
maybe just something. Taylor?
I don't think so.
I don't think we'll see her. I feel like they have enough that they need to focus on now. Titania was always a side parallel story, I feel
Yeah.
like, to what's going on.
They did have a good ending at the wedding and stuff like that. And
I mean, I didn't even think she was coming back for the wedding, so
Yeah, true.
so
You
it's
never know.
possible. I just don't think they need to throw that in the finale. That'll already have enough to tackle.
And Taylor, I know your Avatar guy, Stephen Lang, would be a great as Ross as Super
That's
Ed Knight. Do you agree
the
with that?
betray my own race spell, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The blind man from Don't Breathe. Yes.
Right, same
Is
guy.
that Scott
yeah.
Lang's brother?
Yeah.
He would be fantastic as Ross. Actually,
Yeah,
let's
he'd be good.
pump him in there. He's under the Disney paycheck already with
Pump
Avatar
him in
1.
there,
So
3 films, yeah, still to come out, or 4 films still to come out with Disney. Jeez Louise. Taylor, any last thoughts?
no, not really. I'm excited to see the finale. I think they really landed this penultimate episode quite well. So the next one, I'm hoping we don't experience a very long kind of not detained scene, but just kind of like, oh, you're under arrest for the time being. And she's
yeah.
kind of like regretting her
15
actions.
minutes of that
Yeah.
fucking guy from Miss Marvel and No Way Home.
Ugh,
and
I
you get
feel
like the
like that would be
racist lady
bad.
back and everything like that.
I feel like that could really
So you're
hurt
green,
it.
huh? And you're like, oh, here we go.
So you're green.
She has a big problem with it.
Yeah, I worry that we could get some kind of detainment kind of component to the episode. But if we kind of avoid that and it's just her going off, and we obviously know Matt's gone now because it's the next day, so it's just her and she's gonna do what she can to figure out what's going on. And yeah, I like what we're gonna see here because I'm expecting Bruce Banner to come back or at least help or have some cameo or something.
Really?
Because my
Okay.
pitch was I think I initially thought it was 2, and this would be his third time coming in, or his third episode if he comes back in this episode. So
I'm with you on the cameo, which would be end credit. I don't think he's going to help her. I think they're going to make
That's
it
fair.
Jen.
Kinda
And that's why I always
overshadow
thought they
her.
weren't going to have Daredevil in the finale because I think whatever they want, the problem is that Jen has to, Jen and friends have to
Yeah.
be. Not like if Daredevil just came in here. Even then, they showed that they were equals, but still, I think for the last episode, make it Jen's show and then a Bruce Banner, end credit works. I don't even think it's guaranteed, but I think that's where you could see it. So.
yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to everyone that joined the chat, nice and late and everything. Chat was popping off. Let us know if you're listening to this after the fact on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Discord, what you thought, your predictions for the finale. And I'm excited to talk about next week. I'm excited to get there. And then in December, we're going to be ranking these all because we still got Wakanda, we got Werewolf by Night, and then Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. So I'm excited because I have my list, but lots of times I just kind of throw in a default, like, okay, this is the number for now. So to really think about when we put pen to paper and record it, it's going to be fun. So until next time, which will be the finale, won't be boring.
Bye bye.